We are visiting Broome for the second time. Last time we took a flight from Sydney and saw many places in and around. This time we are coming from completing a 26-day camping off-road trip from Alice Springs via Bungle Bungle, Windham, Gibb River Road and Derby. We have to service the car and fix a long list of accessories that got damaged in the off-road trip. Luckily, I booked the car service and general health check in a reputed 4x4 service center before I started the trip from Sydney. Car was given to service to check out all these accessories issues, but they simply changed the oils, not even filters, and printed out their report with colorful photos and charged me through the roof. Fridge was promptly fixed by a Dometic representative under warranty. I bought a new handset for my GME radio and it works. In my old unit, the button to call was broken due to corrugation. The rubber piece on the rear bar was not necessary to be changed as the driving on road is gentle and in the absence of corrugations and washouts. I was changing them every alternate day while doing off-road. Places to see and experience in Broome are
We're going to go down toward the alligators and start there. This means that next group gets to fill in here. Everybody gets a good chance to see some crocodiles. So when you're ready, jump up. We'll head for a walk down here. And, start
Maybe it's in the bus.
Well, welcome guys. Welcome to the Malcolm Douglas Crocodile Park. Like I said, my name's Ron. Again, you guys get to be a lucky group today because you get to see those two lakes, so it's better to be in that first group. But before we get too excited, we have to have a couple of chats about safety, obviously. He's an ambush predator, he's a predator, and he's pretty smart / lazy, so sometimes he doesn't want to go for a big, large person. Little wallaby-sized explorers are going to be the first option half the time as well. So for that reason, we want to stay back from the fence about an arm's length, especially up the back there. And you'll see the state of those fences too, they get up. Because she's a bit smaller than the boys, of course, and she's not going to go any more than 3 metres long. Big boys can be about 4.5 metres, and the big difference here is she's interested in this chicken, and that's quite gentle in comparison to what we're going to see with those big estuarine crocodiles. And certainly one of our oldest boys, so I'll try and get a bit of a look into his big old gob here, and again, not too many more teeth in there at all. Good boy, eh? Was that nice? Hey? He's got a bizarre head, this bloke, so he's one of our typical Kimberley crocs, or he's from places with a huge tidal system. He's got quite a big fat tail on him, and also quite a small head in relation, but easily one of our oldest crocodiles here. And in the summertime, this guy's an absolute dynamo. He's full of energy. Today though, obviously you can see, there's not much going on at all. Again, that's a pretty old sign. He's still got the instinct, he's quite aggressive, and if he had the chance to, he'd certainly take me out, absolutely. He had that aggression inbuilt in him. We'll give him one last little bit of chicken here because he's a good boy. Aren't you, mate? Hey? Again, get a good chance to look at his face over this side. He's certainly interested in me rather than the chicken. That's one of those big differences. Even an old croc this size is more interested in me than that chicken. Good boy, hey? So, I mean, at his size, he's going to be, I think, So at his size, he's got more than enough jaw pressure to do some serious damage to us. He could squash our skulls with one bite, but not too many teeth involved in that. Oh, damn it. So for an old boy, he can still move pretty good, but as we can see, not many teeth getting involved in that too. Normally, instinctually, he would take that straight to the water and then do it. get up close, but if I do something silly like, again, get too close, or as the saying goes, have too many beers and think it's a good idea to annoy one, that's where we get into trouble. He's pretty chilled out, he's nice. In the wild, you can probably get 20 metres, maybe a bit closer before they go, you know what, you're too close. I'm going to run off into the water because that's where I feel safe. And you're far too big to be eaten, but if you get too close, I will certainly fall right down. So because he's one of those big boys, it contains that spot. He allows a few mates in there, but generally speaking, if you're not invited to the party, you're not invited. He'll kick you out every single time. And these people coming up on the inside here, they're not involved in the party. They're not allowed this side. And all these people have, by the way, stopped on that imaginary line. The female that sometimes is in there, she'll guard that spot as well. So these guys know not to come past that line as well. So it's really interesting communication. And they figured out that taking order. Well, welcome guys, welcome to Long Lake. Inside Long Lake we have 70 crocodiles, 70 Indo-Pacific estuarine or saltwater crocodiles. But don't let this name fool you. All the water we have in the Malcolm Douglas Crocodile Park is all fresh water. So you can live in fresh or salt. But what of course we see is a lot of large crocodiles living together in a small space. That's really rare to see because these guys don't like to share their space at all. Normally he would control one piece of the river system, and he doesn't really want to share that, like I said. But because these animals have grown up together in relative safety, they've sort of dropped off a lot of that aggression and the territorial nature, because this being a confined space, a bit of a controlled experiment, all they know is this environment. So it just means that they've kind of figured out the pecking order, they've figured out who's tough and who's not, and the big dominant crocodiles have found these spaces. One sits right there. The good old elephant man sits here. Everyone who sits in their dominant positions is because they've fought to have that, and that's what happens in the wild as well. And so for that reason, I like to reinforce that. This dominant boy sits right here. He comes up with about 700% more energy than what he needs to for a small piece of chicken frame. So at the moment, I call him a concrete crocodile. He's just sitting there, doesn't even exist until he knows it's time to move, and that's what they do. They wait for the strike zone, and as soon as it's worth getting up, he comes up with too much force. Boy. And he might splash somebody in the face.
Did you lose your spot?
You did!
And of course, same with this bloke here, everyone has their dominant position. And these two are pretty much brothers, they like hanging out together. But this could be a lot worse than what you might expect. This is quite tame behaviour. They could do some serious damage to each other, but of course, they just choose to hang out. Good catch. They've got enough power in their jaws to do some serious damage and kill each other without a problem. And again, as we know, they've figured out that pecking order. And it's really quite civilised. So as a scientific observation, it's pretty rare to see this. A couple of girls up the back there, one of them's a girl anyway. You can tell that's a girl because of course she's only 3 metres or less. Those big boys, however, can grow in excess of 7 or 8 metres. Most of the boys here are going to be 3.9, maybe 4.2 metres. This guy's terrifying. He's got these horrible eyeballs straight up the side. He's one of my favourite crocs. He's got a lot of personality. So in terms of big dominant crocodiles, we've got a couple of guys who contain some territory. This guy right here is one of our big boys. That's his territory. He sits in that little pond because as the sun comes down, that's a very shallow pool. It means it's going to be a lot warmer than most of the other places, all the other places in this lake. So because of that, he's one of our dominant crocs. He gets to claim some of the girls. So there's 60 male crocodiles and 10 females in here. Now, that population drops down to 8 females for the rest of all these crocodiles. So the odds are pretty bad, and it gets worse again. We've got a crocodile that lives in the water about here somewhere. We call him the Loch Ness Monster. He's quite huge, but keeping in mind that he's still the same age. He's 33 years old. Hopefully he's home. He sits about here somewhere. He's got a huge head. By the way, that's one of his females. Give him another piece. There you go, buddy. Come on. And once he finds that, he's going to rummage around. He's going to pull that, catch that in his mouth, but also to eat or swallow that, it means he's going to have to put his whole head out of the water. Otherwise, there's a valve in the back of his neck that, if it was to fill up with water, could potentially drown him as well. So maybe he's being a bit silly today, but again, he's one of our massive crocodiles, and he pretty much likes to claim about 3 of our females as well. So now it drops right down. There's not too many other females around for the rest of these crocodiles, and just like in nature, I suppose, same as us hanging outside the nightclub at 3 o'clock in the morning. Only the big guys tend to get a look at it. Okay. So we've got a few more pieces of chicken left here. And a lot of people ask us, do all these crocodiles get fed every single day? The answer is no, but that's because only our big dominant crocodiles like to come up. We've got quite a few sitting up the back there that aren't super aggressive, but of course they will just wait up the back until it's their time to be fed as well. So quite terrifying to think how many crocodiles are going to be sitting and waiting, and that's part of it too, because they're quite good at doing this typical ambush behaviour. So he's going to have a big chicken left. Again, scientifically, it's really good to see this type of behaviour, and again, you're not going to see too many places in Australia or the world where you have this many large crocodiles all hanging out together. Got a female coming up the back. Of course, that was one of our females. The big boy sitting in here, that's one of his females there. So she's obviously pretty hungry. Give her the last bit of chicken. Alrighty, cool. So again, really cool to see this psychological, I guess, scientific experiment, and we're going to move along now. We're going to feed out the rest of the alligators and the rest of the animals. But by all means, if you want to stay here and observe this, it's really quite fascinating to watch this unfold as well. Otherwise, let's continue on with the tour, guys. Let's go for a walk around and check out.
Driving on Cable Beach was easy. The sand was hard like concrete. Just noticed we were not making any footprint while walking. Still, I reduced the tire pressures just in case there was a section with soft sand. Several groups of camel rides are available, but Sunset Camel Ride is popular. After a few days rest, we drove to 80 Mile Beach Caravan Park. We met Paul and Rhonda from our Gibb River Road trip over there. It is good for endless stretches for white sand lapping onto turquoise water, excellent fishing, bird watching, and beach four-wheel driving.